This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home? Or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Cherries Red Army. We hope you're having a good week. And isn't it nice to go into a match preview off the back of a win last weekend? We'll touch on that in this preview 100%. Please do make sure you subscribe to the channel. As always, we're getting very close to our next 100, so do help us get over the line. And of course, we want to get to that 50 like marker if we can. So hit the like button at some point in this video. If you didn't join us live, thank you for checking out the video. Do enjoy, and we hope you let us know your thoughts in the comments. We've got lots coming up this evening. We've got the focus on Manchester City with an opposition view. We're going to take a look at the Cherries and how well we did last weekend. Well, we got the win. That was important. That was massive for us. We've got your score predictions coming up alongside those predicted lineups. So lots and lots to talk about, because on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff again, just like it was against Newcastle. We've got to try and do something we've never done before in the Premier League, and that is beat Manchester City. It's our 12th attempt. Can we do it? Come on. There's always a chance.
Cheeky one, square, and
And joining me this evening from a Bournemouth perspective is Aaron. Kaye, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Kirk. Good to be on again. Thanks for having me. And yeah, big game ahead. Difficult one, but looking forward to it.
We're going to get your hellos on the screen in the chat in the moment. So if you're currently watching us, do say hello to us and we'll show it on the screen. Now, Aaron, before we get going with this match preview, if it wasn't sad enough that we got the news about Christian Atsu before that Wolves game, his sad passing, we've also had some sad news within the football world today. The passing of the talented John Motson, 77. What a commentator he was. I know that many people have their own opinions why they got into football, why they enjoy it. And some of those opinions might be the experiences they have through listening to a commentator like John Motson. He put the hairs on the back of the neck, and it's a sad loss, but what a commentator. He'll live on in this beautiful game that we love.
Well, his voice will certainly live on because, you know, all the archives and all the amazing games. Yeah, real shock today to get that news. Only 77, you know, relatively spring chicken, really. Only retired a few years ago. So, yeah, really sad news. I mean, Motty was, you know, for me, synonymous with growing up in the 80s when cup finals really did mean something. And, you know, he commentated on 29 cup finals, apparently, FA Cup finals. And 10 World Cups. It's an unbelievable achievement. And, you know, they just don't make them like him anymore. The likes of him, Barry Davis, you know, that they're just a class of their own. And Motty was the untouchable one, really. And, yeah, really, really sad news. But as you say, it's a voice that we will continue to hear, thankfully, for many years.
Well said. And let's see who is joining us this evening. Mark Singleton, how are you? Good evening, Cherries fans. We've got Chris Hubble. We've got David Codron from Australia. Evening, morning. Guten Tag from Germany. Carol Toller, how are you? We've got Jean from the States. Afternoon, folks, up the Cherries. AFC Bournemouth, Germany. Final placement day next Wednesday. Then it's out looking for jobs. Good luck with that. Dan Chase. We've also got Morgan Scott. Good evening. We've never taken anything off City, so Saturday will be the day. Cameron Meach. Evening all. And Matthew Gale. Evening, guys. Up the cherries. It does need to be something like that for us for Saturday, but let's go back a little bit to the start of the season, Aaron. It was our first away game of the season. Nice weather, but it was Manchester City 4, AFC Bournemouth 0. But we did stop Haaland from scoring, currently top goal scorer in the league.
Yeah, job done, wasn't it? I just forgot about everybody else on the pitch. Look, I mean, I think Manchester City away historically for us has always been a bit of a battering. You know, I've been there for many years when Glenn Murray scored our only goal in a 5-1 defeat, I think it was, and a couple of other games. But yeah, it's not one we clearly expect to get anything from. Judging by the game shortly afterwards at Anfield, it could have been a lot worse, and it wasn't so bad. So it sounds crazy, but you know, sometimes you take a 3 or 4-0 defeat at Manchester City and just move on from it, which is what we did. Seasons aren't defined on games like that, but yeah, they showed their class and definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Ben Pearson was in that picture as well, Aaron. He started the season under that Scott Parker reign of the Premier League. He's not currently with us at the moment. I'm hoping that we don't regret that because we know that Lerma was unwell. But yeah, look, it just was one of those days. We haven't scored many goals against them. I think only 5. So it's just one of those days out, and we hope we keep the score down, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think you're right. You know, you start the game trying to hold off as long as possible, but they got a relatively early goal, and from that moment on, it was it was pretty one-way traffic. The second half actually wasn't so bad, but the game was won by then. And Manchester City are the sort of team who keep the ball and try not to bust the gut when they don't need to. So yeah, pretty straightforward win for them. But as you say, we bigger fish to fry for us this season in terms of big games.
Focus on Manchester City, one of the best teams in the world, even if they haven't yet got that Champions League trophy in their cabinet. They actually drew 1-1 last night against Leipzig in the Champions League, but they also drew 1-1 last weekend against Nottingham Forest. You may need to ask yourself, Aaron, how? Because they missed an absolute bucket full of chances. Haaland had the wrong football boots on and is going through his worst spell in 5 years. And Forest, with a Chris Wood goal, I think, at the end, snatched a 1-1. If they can do it, maybe we can. But your thoughts on that 1-1 against Nottingham Forest last weekend?
Well, when I saw the result come through, I was astonished and a bit annoyed because obviously we want to keep Forest in the mix and drag them down. But having watched then the highlights on Match of the Day, I mean, it could have been 6 or 7-1 easily. I mean, they weren't just reasonable chances; they were gilt-edged chances. The likes of Haaland, Foden, Grealish, all missed so many chances, so many easy chances, and it's just our luck, isn't it? Because I'm very much doubt they missed chances like that on Saturday, because that's just the way it seems to be going for us at the moment. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, give credit to Steve Cooper's Forest. They stayed in the game somehow, and then obviously took their one chance. I think they won foray into the other box to equalise. So yeah, and as I said, they drew last night. I'm hoping that's a bit of an advantage to us. They played Wednesday night away in Germany. Some tired legs. They didn't make any substitutions. So apart from De Bruyne, who was ill, and Foden, who didn't come off the bench, very strong lineup. So a quickish turnaround for them. They got clearly a big enough squad to cope with that. So, but I'm trying to grab onto anything at the moment that could give us an advantage, and hopefully, some of their mainstays played 90 minutes away, and a couple of days later, a Premier League match us. So we've had the full week off. So yeah, I'm just trying to hold on to anything at the moment. But look, Manchester City, as you say, they are one of the best teams in the world, but they aren't. Something's not quite clicking for them. Obviously, they're still very much in the title race. They're not far behind at all, and top 2. But yeah, they're not quite on Liverpool standards, but they're not quite clicking as much as they were yet.
Yeah, they would have been disappointed with last weekend because Arsenal snatched a late winner at Villa Park as well. So a bit of a double whammy for them. Aaron, just going to show you something on the screen there, and that's their Premier League away form. 3 losses on the road. You've seen that Forest draw last weekend, but they did beat Arsenal the weekend before that. But they're a solid team, don't lose many matches, haven't lost to any team in the bottom half of the table. And although we'd love to beat Manchester City, I think anything from this game would be great for us when we come to those predictions later on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what's interesting from that is, apart from Newcastle and Leeds, and obviously Arsenal, which I think was a bit of a freak result because Arsenal made a couple of big errors in that game defensively. They haven't scored a huge amount of goals on the road, as you can see. Obviously Wolves as well, they scored 3. But look, I don't think they're the sort of team that necessarily, like Liverpool can in their prime, go and absolutely batter teams and keep going. Manchester City sort of once the game's won, they're just the best at keeping the ball and just taking the pace out of the game and doing what they need to do. Look, the key is staying in the game as long as possible. Even if you go a goal down, don't give another goal away. And our defence was exceptionally good against Wolves. That was a strong part of our game. So they need to be resolute again. Mark Haaland out like we did in the first game, but this time just worry about all the other players that they got.
7 squared. The counter-attack is on. We fluffed is all game last week and will not this week. We're going to get an opposition view in a moment, Aaron, but when you look at the Premier League stats across the league, Man City are eating them up. So you've got Haaland with 26 goals, 30 goal contributions. Kevin De Bruyne's got top assist with 12. I think Rodri has the more passes than anyone else, and that's before we talk about Mahrez, we talk about Gundogan, we talk about Grealish, and Foden's not really hit the fiery form that we've seen previously. They've got talent all over the pitch.
Well, that's what money buys you, and that's clearly, they've got a formidable squad. There might be a relegation 6-pointer if they get deducted a load of points. But in all seriousness, they got an unbelievable squad, talent all over the pitch, as you say. If they bring players in, if they leave players out, they're going to bring players in who are just as good as them, can slot in many positions. They got and different formations. They've been playing really strange formations recently, like a 3 at the back, and then kind of with no fullbacks at all. And Pep does quite like a little tinker at the moment, more so than he has this season, trying to maybe get the best out of Haaland, which is, well, look, some people say it's disrupted them. 27 goals clearly is not a bad disruption if you can get it. But they're not quite free flowing. But as you said, he's got the players who can in an instant hurt us. So we can do everything right, switch off for 1 second or one moment of brilliance from the likes of De Bruyne, who was ill last night. So in the nicest possible way, I hope he's still a little bit ill until after the weekend, then he can make a full recovery. But if you pinpoint 1 or 2 men, you're in trouble. So you've got to do your job all over the pitch.
But we don't watch Manchester City every week, but someone who does, who's going to give us an opposition view, is JSGC from the Man City fan channel, and he's going to tell us about Manchester City season and what he thinks will happen this weekend against Bournemouth.
Hi Kirk and everybody over at the Cherries Red Army channel. My name's JSGC, running the Man City fan channel on YouTube, and I'm going to give an opposition look at Manchester City and what to expect from us for this difficult away game at AFC Bournemouth. So first and foremost, Man City's form. We're just starting to find our feet again. Mostly throughout the season, we've been hitting 2-3 wins in a row. Then we drop points, pick up another couple of wins, drop points, pick up another couple of wins, drop points. And our season's really struggled for momentum, and we thought we'd really turned a corner. Home win against Aston Villa, and then followed that up with a brilliant away win against Arsenal, which sent us top of the Premier League, and they were under all kinds of pressure. And we thought finally the momentum started to turn towards Manchester City. And then last weekend, Arsenal found a very late goal away at Aston Villa, and Man City came unstuck thanks to a late goal from Nottingham Forest in our away match at the City Ground, where we dropped points 1-1, and then we played a Champions League in midweek in Germany against RB Leipzig. So I imagine the City players first and foremost will be pretty tired, having played every 3 to 4 days, and we've had to travel from Leipzig back over to Manchester to then travel down to the south coast to go and play Bournemouth. So I imagine player fatigue might be a little bit of a problem, and because of that I'm expecting City to be rotating ever so slightly. But City have just been coming unstuck, as I've said. 2 matches in a row, we win them, then we drop points, and we just really struggled to get our season going so far. and I can see Man City potentially struggling in this game as well. Bournemouth fighting for their lives, fighting for everything. If they're going to sit back, sit deep, defend really well, and attack with confidence, and they can keep Man City at bay and stop Man City getting that killer 2-goal cushion that City are always looking for, then Bournemouth always well in the game. Now, in terms of rotation for Manchester City, we had De Bruyne and Emerick Laporte. I'm not sure if they were out injured or whether they just weren't feeling well, or there was an admin problem as to why they didn't start against Leipzig. But if they are good to go, then I can see both of them players starting in this game. I imagine Phil Foden's going to come into this game. We could be seeing World Cup winner Julian Alvarez potentially sitting alongside Julian Alvarez. We could see an attacking front four. It could be very much a 3 at the back from City, and then running with 4 up top and having 3 midfielders as well. It all depends on who's fit and who is good to go. Now, in terms of my score prediction for this game, it's going to be a very difficult game for City. I'm going to go for City to sneak this one by 2-1. I can see Bournemouth scoring. Man City have conceded, I think, in their last 5 consecutive games. I think Bournemouth are going to be well up for this one. I think it's going to be a very difficult game, and we really need a win if we want to win the Premier League. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, and I'm going Man City to win by 2-1, but for this to be a very difficult game for us.
Thank you to JSGC for that prediction. Just sneaking it 2-1, he reckons. And we'll get your score predictions in the chat later on. Aaron, he's talking about the season not quite being free-flowing like you talked about, but a player I do want to talk about. We've talked about lots of good players they've got, but they have got one of our own players that signed for them a few seasons ago. He's, for me, Aaron, one of the greatest players to ever wear a red and black shirt for the Cherries, and that is Nathan Ake. And now, again, just similar to like Eddie Howe at Newcastle, he's really getting the respect, not only from Manchester City. I hear good things from Man City fans about him, but in general now, lots of media are seeing Nathan Ake as a really good defender. Doesn't quite play centre-back from what I'm seeing, but still a solid defender. Did we expect anything less?
No, look, he's top class, as you say. Probably definitely one of the top 3 players who's ever put on a Bournemouth shirt for sure. Oozes class, incredible character, great attitude, and I'm just so pleased for him. He's finally getting a run in the Manchester City team. He's getting the recognition he deserves from not just from the media, but from Pep Guardiola, who obviously trusts him. He has kind of played in a number of positions. He's often played at left back, which we know he's obviously played out in his career. He's played at centre back. He's played at left of a 3. So he's very adaptable, and he's been in a great run of form and one of the mainstays in the team, keeping some of the real great players out. Diaz and Laporte, Akanji, obviously they're kind of all rotated sometimes, and Nathan Ake has been one of the mainstays. So yeah, brilliant for him. Always happy to see him. He's always got a smile on his face, and as I said, he's just an all-round great guy as well as a brilliant footballer.
One of the nicest guys in football. And again, we'll get an opportunity to show our appreciation to Nathan Ake at the right moment, after 90 minutes, after the game, and I'm sure he'll give us a clap as well. Quickly take a look at our predicted lineup then, Aaron, for Manchester City. This is Fantasy Football Scout. Not sure the formation is quite as it looks. I mean, they got Silver at left back, but look, they're trying to get the players that they think will start this game. And it's pretty similar to what JSGC did say. Haaland's in there. De Bruyne maybe back fit after his illness. Foden potentially starting. Ake potentially in that defence. Yeah, your thoughts on what we probably expect to see, something similar like that?
Yeah, he played Bernardo Silva in that left back position against Arsenal, strangely, in biggest game of the season against Saka, which was an interesting one. I'm sure Dango would fancy his chances on a either both in the air and on a sprint against Bernardo Silva. So I do hope that is what's going to happen. But it's probably likely. It was back to a 4 last night, actually. As I said, apart from Foden and De Bruyne, I think most of those, nearly all that whole team played 90 minutes. So the guest before just mentioned about potential rotating. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure clearly if De Bruyne is not ill, he'll play, and Foden probably come in for sure. But other than that, it's quite a scary lineup.
So do let us know your thoughts if you're watching this video back and not watching it live, what you think about Manchester City. Do continue to use that interactive chat in this live stream to tell us how you're feeling about this fixture. And I just want to thank at this moment the monthly members who pay towards this channel to help us do these live streams, and anyone who donates. You can become a member at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Always want to thank you very, very much for your support, and anyone who subscribes to the channel, comments, joins our live streams, and of course, hits that like button. Get 50 likes. I don't know what the like count is at the moment, but let's get to 50 likes. Because right now, we're going to move this preview to our very own Cherries. And Aaron, it took us 8 games under Gary O'Neill to get that win. We only needed 1 shot on target. Well, that's all we had. It's a smash and grab. It's a winning ugly. Call it what you want. What it was massive. And what it gives Gary O'Neill and this team now is an opportunity to go into these matches free hits.
We'll take it however they come. I think the performance against Newcastle was much better. For most part, the performance against Nottingham Forest was better. But this is the game we got the 3 points in. And at this stage of the season, with our fixture list, that's all that matters. To go away to a Wolves team who, under Lopetegui have really improved. Beat Liverpool 3-0 a couple of weeks ago. Obviously won at Southampton. And we got the 3 points, and it's one of 1-0 away from home is one of the most satisfying results you can have. And we dug in, as I said, we only had 1 shot on target, but that went in, and that's I think we'll all take that for the rest of the season. I think performances are all great, but results will be all and end all. Much rather this way round. But it was a brilliant defensive performance. I think that's the key with all the now exciting talent, attacking talent we have at our disposal. That front 4 against Wolves were 3 of them are there, as you can see, with Dango as well, are really exciting. But actually, they weren't particularly clicking on Saturday. It wasn't really them. It was the defence that won us that game. Outstanding performances from Jack Stevens and Marcos Senesi. And the fullbacks Jay-Z and Adam Smith as well. So brilliant performance, and the midfield too. So it was satisfying. It was much needed, and it was a must win, because what this has potentially given us now is that if, as many of us expect, these next 3 games don't necessarily go our way, then hopefully, even if we have slipped back into the bottom 3, that 3 points means we shouldn't be too far adrift. And if we can get out of these 3 games, even if we don't get many points or any points, but we're still not far off that line, then that'd be brilliant. So I think this 3 points has certainly given us that, and given a lift and the confidence to the squad and the support.
And Mark Singleton's prediction of last week, which he predicted a clean sheet, and it was our first clean sheet on the road, and that was much needed as well. Let's keep talking about defending then, and we had to do some of it last weekend. I don't think Wolves were on full throttle. Actually, Aaron, I actually predicted, I know that we talk in our WhatsApp groups, etc., that it was going to be one of those games that Wolves were going to go into very confident. And I felt like if we were going to win, and at some point we would win a football match regardless, that it might be this one that Wolves will go into it maybe overconfident. But someone who's helped us achieve that clean sheet, we know Senesi did well against Newcastle as well with that goal. But Jack Stevens, now this is a guy that's on loan from Southampton who are struggling to stay up as well. And I know they did well at Stamford Bridge. But Jack Stevens, every time he's come into this team, 8 appearances, 4 starts, he's been absolutely immense. And it's quite amazing, really, that Southampton probably let him go. Jack Stevens, though, 8 games, 2 clean sheets, 80% accurate passing, 1 yellow card, 74% ground duels, lots of blocks against Wolves. And like you've said, he's a big player, and it's going to be hard to budge. And he's keeping out Chris Mepham.
Yeah, proper defender. I think many of us probably felt the same when he signed on loan from Southampton. We thought, some Premier League experience, but the Saints fans that we know weren't exactly waxing lyrical about him. They let him go for a reason. But he's taken his chance. It's interesting, actually, that him and Marcos Senesi were the partnership against Everton the last time he won under Gary O'Neill back in November. And obviously then didn't get back in again. So his record is great. And those two have formed a brilliant partnership. As you say, Lloyd Kelly obviously is nursing injury at the moment. Chris Mepham, obviously, as you said, can count himself extremely unfortunate, because he's been a great defender this year. And obviously, The very promising and exciting Zabani, who we've heard today probably won't play again until April now, which is a big blow, but softened the blow by the fact that Jack Stevens is performing out of his skin. And as you say, we've got Chris Mepham as well, should we need him. So yeah, long may it continue. And he's flourishing, absolutely flourishing.
In the key information there that you're seeing at the banner, which tells you about Bournemouth's season, is we haven't beaten a team in the top half of the table yet. But players that can help us potentially achieve that, Aaron, it was Marcus Tavernier that scored. He started after his injury spell. He came off the bench against Newcastle. We know that we've missed him. He's someone that can take us up the pitch. We know through the January transfer window that we've got more players in our team now that can take us up the pitch. It probably wasn't Dango's best game since he's come in, but we are asking these players, Aaron, to hit the ground running because we have no time. And when you've got the likes of Traore, who's got creative feet and he's trying to pick up pockets, we have got something about us. And I know this is going to be a tough game this weekend, but in the moments we have the ball, which might be limited, maybe less than 30% of it, we've got to try and be creative, and we've got to try and go in a few packs, maybe 3 and 4s, and we've got to try and create some good chances to just at least try and score a goal.
Yeah, look, you can't sit back against Manchester City and try and absorb it, because they're too clever. They'll find that pass, they'll find that shot, bang, goal, and done. So you have to take the game to them. It is brave to do that, but you have really no choice. Not gung-ho necessarily, where you leave wide open spaces at the back, but your front four that we've just mentioned have to really give it a go. And the likes of Dango, who's been outstanding in his 2 home games, not so great at Brighton and Wolves, but brilliant against Newcastle, brilliant against Nottingham Forest on his debut. Traore as well. Again, none of them had a brilliant game at Wolves, but the flashes he's shown at Brighton and Newcastle really did, whet the appetite. Yeah. Dom's obviously backfiring now, and Tav, as you say, Jadon Anthony as well, obviously in that mix, and Semenyo. So we have got pace, which we've been talking about all season. We've got pace to scare them, and defenders don't like pace. So let's get the ball over the top. Let's put them under pressure. Turn that ball over quickly. We're not necessarily going to be able to play through Manchester City, but sometimes maybe just go a bit more direct. I'm not talking about lobbing the ball up because Keith Moore's not on the pitch, but just looking, for that ball over the top for the likes of Dango and Tavernier to run onto, and just pushing Manchester City back.
And when you talk about Kiefer Moore, and I saw a stat the other day that we're sort of like the second lowest team in the league for crosses, and now we've got players to get to the byline and take on players. We need to be crossing the ball a little bit more. And if Kiefer Moore does potentially end up in some of these games on the pitch, we need to give ourselves a chance of trying to score a variety of goals, because this weekend's team, Haaland, scores many left foots, many right foots, headers, and if we can add variety to the goals that we can score, and we know we're going to need to score plenty of goals to stay in this league, then we need to add that. Talking about another position in that sort of area of the field that is a little bit concerning, we know that Jeff Lerma, for me, was carrying something at Brentford for a few weeks, and then he came off at the weekend unwell. We've let Ben Pearson go to Stoke. Lewis Cook injured, still not hearing if he's coming back. Are we potentially seeing Joe Rothwell, who came in as a ball carrier, to maybe drop in and actually adapt his game to maybe be another type of holding midfielder? Because we are a bit short, I think, in that position.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it? Because like a few months ago, we were saying we were overloaded in that position. And interestingly enough, against Wolves, we ended the game with Phil Billing and Joe Rothwell, both in that kind of defensive, 2 in front of the back 4. Neither their natural positions. We've obviously spoken about Phil Billing playing in that position, but they were both great, outstanding. I thought Phil Billing had a brilliant game. We know he gets the best out of him going forward, but I think with the players we've now brought in, Phil Billing might have to then go back a little bit, and play that more defensive role. Lewis Cook, I haven't heard anything about how far away he is. It doesn't look imminent to me. Jeff Lerma's ill, or was ill. I don't know if anyone's seen the training pictures. I definitely saw Tavernier in them, but I didn't see Jeff Lerma, but I might have missed him. So it'd be interesting if anyone did see him 100% in those training pictures. But yeah, if he gets injured, then you're right. Ben Pearson was unique in that situation, where he's the one player in our team other than Jeff Lerma who can break up the play and kind of sit in front of the defence, which is why at the time I thought was a very strange move, unless he obviously really pushed it through himself, which could well have been the case. If not, then, harsh as it sounds, the likes of Stan or Jack Stacey probably should have been left out with 25 to let Ben Pearson be in it, because, as I said, he's a specialist in that position. And one injury to Jeff Lerma now, and Lewis Cook's out, then we are suddenly very short in defensive midfielders. But yeah, Joe Rothwell did a very good job, retained the ball very well, got a good engine on him, and as I said, Phil Billing excelled. But I wouldn't like to see that pairing there for too many games this season, because it's not their natural positions.
So let's take a look at the AFC Bournemouth predicted 11 for this weekend in collaboration with Pitch Football. It's a lazy prediction, Aaron. I'm not going to lie. I'm going unchanged. I think there will be some rotation at some point, but off the back of the win at Molineux, expecting hopefully Tavernier's injury not to be too serious and Lerma to be okay, I'm going unchanged. Your thoughts on that? But I do need to maybe question myself at some point that is Vina going to get a chance? Yeah, your thoughts on that starting 11 that I've gone for unchanged?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, assuming, as you say, everyone's fit or well. Jay-Z had a very good game against Traore, whose end product can be questionable, but his pace and his strength and his running ability is one of the best in the league. So I thought Jay-Z coped really well. So I would be very surprised if Vina came in yet, although, again, his pedigree is there. He had a very good little cameo. Short time he was on the pitch, did very well. Look, you don't play for your country, a tough Uruguayan defender, plays in the Champions League, plays for Jose Ramiro. He's going to be a decent player. So at some stage, he might well come in, because he's clearly a great player, but probably not yet. And look, there have been questions over Adam Smith. I mean, for me, he's still very dependable. He clearly hasn't got the legs he used to have. He did make a couple of errors early on against Wolves, but I can't see him being dislodged at the moment. So, yeah, the rest of the team, I think, picks itself on the basis that everyone is fit. Jayden Anthony's probably the only one who can sort of hold his hand up and say, hang on a minute, but he'll definitely have a part to play throughout the game, 100%.
Paul, happy with a point from the next 3 games? Actually, Paul, I totally agree with that. And Mark Singleton did say that Jeff was in the training photos. So that is a absolute good sign. So make sure you hit that like button. And we're going to come to that really important moment in the preview in just a moment, where we're going to get your score predictions. But before you do that, you need to have a think about it. This is a massive game. Aaron, Bournemouth have played Manchester City 11 times in the Premier League, 0 wins, 0 draws, 11 losses, something like 5 goals. And I'll give you the absolute stat that you're looking for: 34 goals conceded. So when you think about your score prediction, take that into account. But in football, anything can happen. Time for you to put your score predictions in the chat. What do you think it'll be this weekend at Dean Court? Another late kickoff, because we're on TV on Sky Sports. So if you can't be there, check out the Cherries where you can around the world. But there are other games going on this weekend in the Premier League. And again, Aaron, when we go into a big fixture, teams playing against each other, I'm always a little unsure what the best result is. But the fixtures this weekend are Fulham taking on Wolves. The Newcastle-Brighton game is postponed because Newcastle are in the Carabao Cup final against Manchester United. Everton against Aston Villa. Leicester, Arsenal, West Ham, Nottingham Forest might be one that we might want to keep an eye on. Leeds, Southampton, even bigger. Bournemouth, Man City, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and Tottenham against Chelsea. So your thoughts on the rest of the fixtures in the Premier League, Aaron, before we go on to our score predictions?
It's always tricky, isn't it? Because we don't want Southampton to get, another win under their belts and get their momentum up under their new interim manager. And Leeds are just, from the sounds of it, have appointed Gracia, the former Watford manager. Don't want them to get a big result.
Yeah,
I guess you want to draw in that game. You want to draw for West Ham Forest as well. But I guess whoever loses, it's good news. Whoever wins, it's bad news. So there's nothing we can do to influence it. So we'll just wait and see. So it's going to be something coming out of that, and hopefully Fulham beat Wolves tomorrow night. So because Wolves are really well in it now as well. And Everton Villa. I mean, Everton all seems to have home games at the moment, and they are very strong at home under Dyche. But I think they obviously beat Arsenal. They had to beat Leeds last weekend, and I think Villa, because after Villa game, I think they got a horrendous run of fixtures.
Right.
So I'm hoping that maybe Villa can get something for us at Everton. But yeah, we'll see. I'll normally say at this stage, as long as we do the business, it doesn't matter. But we've probably one of the hardest games we could have.
And also a little eye on Arsenal at Leicester, because that's our next game. So if they lose to
It's nice and
Leicester,
easy, yeah. Nice and easy.
if they lose to Leicester, then they're going to be even more up the next weekend as well. But like Paul said, I think I would take a point from any of these 3 games, just anything. We have to take something off these big teams. We can't just pin ourselves onto these other matches where we think, well, we've got to beat these football teams. We've got to get some of these results where we're not expected to get many. I'm just going to get this message from Paul here. Would like to see Venus start. The small amount of play I've seen has been very, very good. Yeah, but to be honest with you, Aaron, before we go into score predictions, I think Jay-Z's games actually got improved since Venus come in. I don't know if that's a consequence of having a little bit of a pressure applied to him, but I think he's been even better than the times he has been already this season.
Yeah, I think he has been. I think any manager and any squad knows that when you've got competition for places, it naturally boosts players and wants them to, makes them play, harder for their position. So I'm not really surprised there. I'm just quickly going back to what you said before about picking up points against the top 6. I mean, people often say these aren't season-defining games, but interestingly, in the 5 years under Eddie in the Premier League, these games, some of them did define our season. So,
yeah.
Some commentators and pundits have turned around and said, the games aren't defined by this season. But tell that to Eddie when he beat Chelsea and beat Manchester United and beat Liverpool, beat Tottenham. So, maybe I'm not saying we should be beating these teams by any stretch. But what I'm trying to say is that seasons are defined throughout the season. So let's not just write these off.
And I feel like I should have been fair to the chat and the fans that are currently watching and probably given you a head and a heart prediction. If you want to put a head and a heart in there, that's absolutely fine. But I am seeing some predictions in there already. I'm going to go nice and early like I have done recently. And I think I'm going to put a head and heart in there, Aaron. I think my heart tells me that we could get a draw and we're due something. It can't keep going on and on that we just keep losing to Manchester City. So my heart says the occasion, the lights at Dean Court, if we can lift ourselves again, just like we did against Newcastle, can we perform as fans for 93 minutes? Because I really think we helped the team against the Magpies. I think we could get a 1-1. My head says that Man City drawing last weekend and against Leipzig, Guardiola was giving them a bit of a telling off on the pitch last night in the Champions League. So I just think they'll get probably the job just about done and they'll probably beat us 2-1. That's my head prediction. My heart hopes we can get something and I think we do something. Let's get some of those score predictions from the chat. Chris Hubble, thanks for joining us this evening. He's gone for a 2-1 Bournemouth home win. Will be nice. That was nice and early from Chris earlier on in the chat. Carol is going for a 1-1. That's what my heart says, but would love a win. Absolutely. Luke, thank you very much. Is going for a sadly 2-1 to City. Chris confirming his 2-1 prediction. Mark got the score prediction right last weekend, so Mark might have it right this weekend. He's going for 2-2 under the lights. Matthew Gale, thank you very much. We really want to be positive, but unfortunately not in this one. 3-0 defeat. Nick Osborne thinks we'll get our first fixture against Manchester City in the Premier League with a 1-0 and an emoji. Cameron Meach is going for 1-3 to Manchester City. Heather is saying this may be mad, but if we're stuck, could we not play Kiefer Moore in the holding midfielder role? Maybe something that we could look at some point in the season if we need it. Gene has also said Smith needs to stop playing like a okay. And he maybe he'll have a good performance on Saturday. Heather's going for 1-1, and David from Australia is going for 3-0 to City. So a mixed bag in there. There are some Cherries fans that think we can win this fixture, Aaron. There are some draws. There's some obvious losses. And what is your score prediction for Bournemouth? City?
There's a part of me with you, Kirk, under the lights, our new attacking talent. Manchester City having a bit of a wobble for them. That, if we don't concede an early goal, I think that's going to be key. If we don't concede an early goal and the crowd, carry on the atmosphere like it was at the Newcastle game, that we could maybe get our first ever point against Manchester City. You just don't know. We're going to have to take our chances and we're going to have to hope that Neto has a brilliant game and the likes of Haaland and co fluff a lot of their chances like they did the other day. The heart says 1-1 as well. The head's going to say 3-1 to Manchester City. I think, as you say, they're a bit of a wounded animal. It's no disgrace, clearly, to lose to them. But I think it doesn't. I don't often say this, but I think we'll lose 3-1. on Saturday.
And Paul from Australia also going for a City win. But that's fair enough. These types of games are really hard to predict for a Cherries victory, but you just don't know. You just don't know. It might be one of those days and anything can happen.
Absolutely.
I think,
absolutely.
And as what I was saying, Aaron, I think, if Nottingham Forest can get a draw, there's nothing to say we can't get a draw. I think as we summarise this match preview, thank you to everyone who's joined us, as always, on these Thursday live match previews. We really enjoy it. As I summarise going into this fixture closer to kickoff, is that it's not particularly about the performance. I mean, if we lose, we lose. I think that's probably what the odds will be. Absolutely. It's just how we approach the game. Okay, if we know we're not going to have much possession, but we do need to try and do something with the possession. If we just leave Dom isolated up the top, or we just try and have 10 men behind the ball, they will break us down. It very rarely happens that you can hold a team for 90 minutes, especially when they've got ridiculous talent like De Bruyne, who can just weave a pass through the lines. So I think it's more about how we approach the game. Can we actually push them back a little bit and just show some heart? And I think as Bournemouth fans, we'll never have any issues providing we lose the right way.
Yeah, no, I think we'd all agree with that. As I said, you can't be kamikaze, but you also don't want 10 men behind the ball, as you say. It's got to be structured. You've got to press. You've got to, run a hell of a lot and just switch on and do the simple things well. But at the same time, give them a problem. Let's not give them a chance to flood all their players forward. Let's give them a problem. Let's pin, Dango on one side, Tavernier on the other. Get their full-backs or wing backs, whatever they're playing, so that they can't, get too far up the pitch. And as you say, let's give it a go, and that's all we can hope for. Thank you, Aaron. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much for having me on. So hope we're all cheering on Saturday evening at this time, and put on a good viewing, not just for our supporters, but obviously the millions watching at home, no doubt. Match reaction will hit this YouTube channel after the game. And of course, we'll try and get a match day vlog out for you on the Sunday. Thank you to everyone who's joined us live this evening and contributed on this preview in the interactive chat. Thank you very much. Give yourself a round of applause. And anyone who's taken the time to watch this video back, thank you very much. Do let me know your comments, your thoughts, and your score prediction. Stick them down below. And of course, thank you to our opposition guests. But it is Bournemouth taking on Manchester City, a very good Manchester City team. But Bournemouth can show a little bit of heart. For the first time in our history, we could get something at Dean Court against Guardiola's team. Thank you for watching. We'll see you very soon between now and kickoff. Look after yourselves. We'll see you soon. Up Cherries. Up the Cherries.